Visa Cash App RB is on a mission in 2024. Yes, the Red Bull B team that is now on its third identity in its lifetime didn't really start things off on the best foot with the fans when they announced their very long and confusing name. Visa Cash App RB, of course, doesn't really sound too great and doesn't really roll off the tongue, and even the team CEO did state that the name is kind of weird when he sort of told the fans that you might as well just call it VCARB because no one's actually going to expect you to pronounce the whole name. However, they did save face when they unveiled this stunning new livery that sort of resembles the classic Toro Rossos, but with a modern twist. It looks fantastic, in my opinion, the best of the liveries that has been unveiled so far. Now, obviously, liveries, and cool liveries at that, don't always translate to fast cars. However, Visa Cash App RB is done being a junior team to Red Bull. They want to take a huge step forward in 2024. Now, the team formerly known as AlphaTauri even announced before the end of 2023 that the next year, in 2024 in this case, was going to be a huge step for them because they were done being a B team to Red Bull. They were going to be taking a huge step forward, be considered more of a sister team that could compete higher up the grid. And now the car has been unveiled, and we've also heard some of the technical specifications and some of the changes that have been made. It's pretty clear that they meant business when they announced that statement. Now, the first big change that they did announce for this new VCARB 01 is they changed to a pull rod front suspension, which is something their sister team Red Bull did when these new regulations came into effect in 2022. And obviously, they've got the new regulations on point, and one of those big talking points is that pull rod suspension. Of course, McLaren has also switched that suspension. Things are going pretty well for them. And now the new Sauber C44 has also announced the pull rod front suspension. So it seems like teams are really catching on that this is in fact a very key component to the success of Red Bull. But stepping away from the suspension side of things and looking at things that you can actually see on the car from the exterior is the side pods. Now, the side pods have been a huge talking point in these new ground effect regulations. Of course, some teams have gotten it perfectly, like Red Bull. Other teams have gone a completely different route, like Mercedes with the Zero Pod. We all know that did not work at all. But now Visa Cash App RB, or of course VCARB for short, has seemingly now adopted a side pod that is similar to Red Bull. Of course, we haven't seen the 2024 Red Bull RB20 just yet, but if you look at these new side pods on the VCARB 01, they are quite similar to what Red Bull finished the season with in 2023. They are much wider, and they have a lot more ways to channel air to the back of the car, which should be tremendous with helping the aerodynamics of the new VCARB. All of this should mean that Visa Cash App RB should have some tremendous aerodynamics and a much better chassis that will help them pretty much in every aspect on the track. Low speed and high speed corners, as well as straight line speed. Of course, Red Bull was pretty much dominant in every single aspect last year, and now it seems like they are forming a much closer bond in the technical aspect with their sister team. Now, obviously, they won't want Visa Cash App RB getting that close to them on the grid, but it does benefit both teams if they share more technical data, and Visa Cash App can move further up the grid to provide more of a challenge to the bigger teams. A better VCARB team will throw a real spanner into the works for anyone who is really competing with Red Bull, so obviously that is going to benefit the big team and the smaller team as well. Now, obviously, AlphaTauri did not have a very good season for pretty much the entire first half. Obviously, it was going terribly for Yuki Tsunoda and Nick De Vries, to the point where De Vries was dropped completely in favor of a return for Daniel Ricciardo. But towards the end of the season, they made some huge upgrades that got them very close to Williams, and now it looks like they are just building off of that old upgrade package with new components from the past year's Red Bull. This should make them an actual dominant force in the midfield in 2024. But aside from the technical aspects of things, we should also take a look at the driver lineup that they have going into the 2024 season. This shows a clear shift from just the junior development driver program to an actual competitive driver lineup that looks like they really want to challenge the midfield and potentially the bigger teams closer to the front. Obviously, we know Yuki Tsunoda has come up through the Red Bull ranks as a development driver, yes, but now he is going into his 4th season in Formula 1, which just sounds pretty crazy to think about, but he's no longer really just a development driver. He's a legitimate contender on the Formula 1 grid. And obviously, we all know what Daniel Ricciardo is about. He is not a young development driver. He has come back to Formula One because he wants to be competitive and he wants to prove to everyone that he's still got what it takes to compete at the front. And it looks like Visa Cash App RB might be providing him with a car that can do just that. I seriously think with all these technical improvements, the better partnership they now have with the sister team at Red Bull, as well as a strong driver lineup, is really going to make Visa Cash App RB the ultimate dark horse on the grid in 2024. All these other big teams, as well as the midfield teams, Alpine, McLaren, Aston Martin, you name it, they should all be keeping a close eye on these guys, and it's going to be really exciting to see how they fare in preseason testing in just a couple of weeks. I mean, come on, with a livery that looks that good too, you can only hope that this car is a rocket ship on the track. But guys, give me your thoughts. Do you think that Visa Cash App RB is a legitimate team going to 2024 that can seriously challenge the midfield and potentially go even beyond that with their new technical developments and their experienced driver lineup? And obviously, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to Racing Direct for all the latest updates on F1. We'll see you guys next time.